This is video number 1 for a report in Carrenrush, Rathlee, Easkey, County Sligo for Caroline Lyons. Okay. So just briefly, the original structure, now I spoke to the vendor who was in the house when I did the inspection, and he told me that the three houses, the two adjacent houses, were built at the same time as his house. They were built probably in the 1970s. Now, all three houses were built at the same time by the same builder. And then your house, or the house that you're looking at, was converted into a dormer. So it wasn't originally to a dormer, but it was converted to a dormer. Converted to a dormer in, well, sometime before 2012. And the reason I know it was before 2012 is because when the property was last sold, it was last sold around about 2013. The current owner insisted on them getting retention, or applying for retention permission before he bought it. So retention permission was granted in 2012, and I have included the details of the retention. That's the retention permission number is 1246. I've included some of the drawings from the retention permission from Sligo County Council. So the other thing, that the septic tank was upgraded to a mechanical effluent treatment unit in around about just more prior to 2013, and that was done because, again, the engineer of the current vendor, when the current vendor bought the property, he asked for the septic tank to be upgraded because it was changed from a single story to a dormer. So he asked for it to be upgraded, and they did actually put in a percolation system, and I'll have some photographs of that in the report as well. So these are the drawings from Sligo County Council's planning file. You can see there that's they match up. Now, the one thing that I did notice from the site is that this is the northeast side elevation. It doesn't match that's what's on the planning file. What was built doesn't match. There are two windows that are missing. Now, I'm not sure that that's going to be a problem. I don't think it is going to be a problem. What they seem to have done was they only drew one elevation, because they only drew one end view, because the other end view is the exact same as this, except that it's mirrored. It's flipped over. It has three windows. So you'll see that when I go over to the I'll move on. That's the rear elevation, which matches what's existing, or matches what's on site. Now, if I go over here, this is the southwest elevation. So you can see the southwest elevation has three windows, which is also what's on the planning file. So that matches, so that's fine. Now this end view here is just basically, it was carbon copied and mirrored for the other end view, but there's not three windows. But I don't think it's going to be a concern that you're going to have to worry about. That's a section through the building. That's also from the Sligo County Council planning files. So you can see that it's cavity wall construction. And when I looked in the ESB box, or the ESB meter, you can actually see in the wall, there does not appear to be any insulation in the cavity. So that's house is going to be probably relatively difficult to heat. That's the plan. This is again from Sligo County Council. That's the ground floor plan, which more or less matches what's existing. And that's the dormer. And those are notes from, this is an extract from landdirect.ie. So when you're buying and selling properties, it's important to look at landdirect.ie. It just shows the plot. These are the notes which give details of the plot. So that's a close-up of the plot. There's actually two plots for sale, and they both add up to these are the notes on the next page. Both plots add up to 0.23 hectares. So the number of plans on the folio is 2. Now, the synopsis, I'll come back to the synopsis at the end, but basically, if I was to compare your house to other properties on the market, I would have said that this property is above average. So, you know, that's 2 steps above average. So that's, it's in good condition. So I'll just go through some of the observations that I made. This is the front office room, and on the ceiling there is a patch, a stain on the ceiling, which it looks like there was historically a roof leak at that location. So there's moisture coming in at some location. Now, when okay, I'll zoom into the next page here just for a close-up. Now, it's not a bad stain. It's difficult to see in this photograph. You can't really even see the stain there. You can see there's a slight crack and there's the stain. Now, when I put the moisture meter on it, the moisture meter actually indicates that it's currently dry. So there's not a lot of rain coming in, or there is not frequently rain coming in. Now, I spoke to the vendor about this, and he said that the leak has not been repaired. He hasn't repaired it, but he did notice that it only gets wet during periods of unusual weather conditions. Like, I think it's, he said, when he's getting, the wind is blowing from a southeast, but it's also taking driving rain with it. So this only really gets wet during unusual weather conditions. So that's probably why it's dry. Normally, if there's a stain and it's dry, I'll say to myself that it's been fixed or it's been repaired. But in this instance, because it's dry, the homeowner is saying it's just that rain does penetrate, but only when you have unusual weather conditions. So this is probably the area where that rain is penetrating through. It's penetrating through this dormer roof here, or this dormer window, and it's more than likely penetrating around the window frame. So between the window frame and the rendered reveal, there'll be driving rain can penetrate there. You might be amazed at how much driving rain can actually penetrate around a window frame if it hasn't been sealed properly, if it hasn't been a silicone seal put in to seal it up and to make sure that there's a good seal on it. So what I would do is I would silicone seal around that window to make sure that no driving rain can penetrate in the future. Now, it was not possible to, so this is inside the dormer window here. You can see that there's staining here and that there's staining here. Again, you know, there are stains, but the moisture meter indicates that these areas are dry. So there is driving rain penetrating at some location. It's not happening very frequently. Now, the other thing I was going to say is this front attic space, I would have liked to have accessed the front attic space here to look at the timbers just to see what condition they're in. Now, I'm pretty positive that the timbers will not have been seriously affected. There isn't enough moisture for the timbers to have been seriously affected. It's really only a cosmetic problem for now. Now, I would do a repair on it to stop rain coming through in the future, but it's not going to be a case that you're going to find that the timber is rotten behind there. I would have liked to have gone in and had a look at it, but there's actually no access hatch to this attic space. So what I would do is I would create an access hatch into this attic space at some point so that you can have direct visual examination of the attic space, and you'll be able to see from the staining where the moisture is coming in, and then you'll be able to say, okay, well, it is probably penetrating around the window frame, so we'll silicone that up and that should prevent the problem. So it's a minor problem, and that was probably the worst problem that I found. So that's one of the reasons I say, you know, the building is in good condition. So now, okay, I'm going to stop this video here, and then I'm going to continue on with video number 2.